In a world where ambition meets controversy, few figures command the spotlight like Pete Hegseth, a man whose journey from Army veteran to Fox News superstar embodies the American dream in its most unapologetic form. With a net worth soaring into the millions, a luxury lifestyle dripping with success, and rumored ties to the highest echelons of political power, Hegseth's story is a captivating blend of service, media savvy, and unabashed opulence. Love him or question him, there's no denying his influence. A Princeton graduate, decorated military officer, and charismatic Fox News anchor whose name has floated in Trump-era defense secretary talks, Hegseth has built an empire as polarizing as it is aspirational. Behind the headlines and controversies lies a narrative of relentless hustle. From his early days leading soldiers to his rise as a primetime fixture on Fox News, Hegseth has leveraged military discipline and sharp political instincts to carve out a niche where patriotism meets punditry. His relationship with Donald Trump, marked by mutual admiration and speculation about a 2025 political comeback, adds fuel to the fire of his ever-growing legacy. But it's not just politics driving his fame. Dive into his luxury lifestyle, sprawling estates, high-end cars, and a family life framed by both tradition and modern ambition. Critics may raise eyebrows, but supporters see a self-made icon unafraid to embrace the spoils of his success. Hegseth's rise wasn't just about military valor or a smooth transition to media stardom. It's about his mastery of the media landscape, positioning himself as an authoritative voice on conservative values while cultivating a magnetic persona that speaks to the heart of American patriotism. His ability to navigate the intersection of politics, media, and wealth has earned him a place at the table with the country's most powerful figures. From the front lines of war to the bright lights of television, his journey is a study in reinvention, ambition, and audacity. As 2025 looms, whispers about Hegseth's next move, whether returning to politics, amplifying his media empire, or defending his ideals, prove one thing: his story is far from over. This is the untold chapter of a man who thrives at the intersection of wealth, power, and principle, turning every controversy into a stepping stone. Ready or not, America can't look away. Welcome to Loyal Luxury, the channel where we uncover the real stories behind wealth, power, and the figures who dominate the spotlight. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Pete Hegseth, a man who went from leading soldiers on the battlefield to commanding millions of viewers on Fox News. His journey is packed with ambition, controversy, and undeniable influence. We'll break down his rise from decorated Army officer to media powerhouse, his rumored connections to political elites, and the luxury lifestyle he proudly embraces. Stay tuned as we reveal the untold truth behind Pete Hegseth's success and the empire he's built. Early life and education. Pete Hegseth's rise from small-town Minnesota to national prominence wasn't accidental. It was the result of deep-rooted values and relentless ambition. Born in Forest Lake, he grew up in a home where patriotism wasn't just spoken. His father, a Vietnam veteran, and his mother, a dedicated community advocate, instilled in Pete a reverence for service and tradition. At Forest Lake High, he stood out, not just for academic talent, but for his commanding presence in debate and student government. Then came Princeton. There, amid Ivy League prestige, Pete sharpened his conservative voice, leading the Princeton Tory and championing free market ideals. His intellect and discipline, like a finely crafted luxury watch, were precise and deliberate. Internships at the Heritage Foundation further positioned him for influence. By the time he penned his thesis, The Decline of American Civic Education, Pete was more than a student. He was crafting a personal brand rooted in conviction, sophistication, and the polish of a future media icon. His journey had only just begun, shaped by values, sharpened by intellect, and destined for greatness. Military career, valor, discipline, and controversy. For Pete Hegseth, the military was more than a job. It was his identity. In 2003, he joined the Army National Guard as an infantry officer. His first assignment, Guantanamo Bay, a place where morality and duty collided, tasked with guarding detainees. He faced a world of classified intelligence and ethical dilemmas that would shape his future beliefs. But his true test came in Iraq. Amid the chaos, he led counterinsurgency operations during the war's deadliest phase. Every decision meant life or death. Later in Afghanistan, he trained Afghan security forces, passing on the lessons that war had burned into him. His service earned him the Bronze Star, the combat infantryman badge, but not everyone saw him as a hero. His defense of Guantanamo's policies sparked fierce criticism, even from the New York Times. Some called him a patriot, others too extreme. Yet through battle and backlash, he never wavered. Discipline, conviction, sacrifice. This was Pete Hegseth's code. Advocacy for veterans. Leaving active duty never meant leaving the mission. For Pete Hegseth, the battlefield simply changed. In 2007, he became the executive director of Vets for Freedom. No longer holding a rifle, he wielded policy and persuasion to fight for veterans and to keep America's mission alive. He wasn't just advocating. He was waging a political war, pushing to sustain U.S. troop surges in Iraq and Afghanistan. His message was clear. Abandoning the mission would dishonor those still fighting and weaken national security. By 2012, his fight took a new turn. As CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, he aligned with the Koch network. His op-ed in the Wall Street Journal condemned the VA's failures, as the 2014 wait time scandal left veterans in agony, waiting for care that never came. The fight led to the 2018 VA Mission Act, expanding private care for veterans. Supporters called it progress. Critics called it privatization. But for Pete, principles always came before politics, no matter the battlefield, no matter the opposition. His fight for veterans never wavered. Media career at Fox News. In 2014, Pete Hegseth made a pivotal shift from military advocacy to media. His next battlefield, the airwaves. By 2016, he became a familiar face on Fox Friends Weekend. His style, unapologetically conservative, fiercely patriotic. He wasn't just another commentator. His military insight and sharp political takes made him a trusted voice in GHEP circles. He championed President Trump's military policies, reforms, warning they would weaken the armed forces. When he clashed with the ACLU over the NFL anthem protests, the moment ignited national debate, elevating his profile. By 2020, Pete entered deeper controversy, amplifying election fraud claims later debunked. Critics called him reckless. His audience called him fearless. Through every controversy, every headline, Pete never backed down. His platform wasn't just a job, it was his mission. Appointment as Defense Secretary. In 2024, President Trump's nomination of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense sent shockwaves through Washington. The GOP was divided, but the MAGA base was electrified. With backing from Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation poured $1 million into securing his confirmation. To his supporters, he was a reformer, vowing to eliminate Pentagon wokeness. At his confirmation hearing, Senator Joni Ernst praised his bold plan to audit $3.8 trillion in accounting errors, but Democrats challenged his managerial experience and his past stance on women in combat. He defended himself. Modernize, not weaken. Once confirmed, he redirected climate funds to shipbuilding and artillery, deployed the National Guard to the border, and banned diversity training. Critics blamed these moves for rising minority attrition rates. But Pete stood firm. For him, leadership wasn't about appeasement. It was about action, no matter the controversy. Lifestyle and luxurious living. In 2020, Pete Hegseth married Jennifer Roche, a Fox News producer at Trump National Golf Club, securing his place among political and media elites. With Trump himself in attendance, the union was more than personal. It was symbolic. Since then, their lavish lifestyle has been on full display. Frequent vacations, high-profile events, and front-row seats at America's most elite gatherings. Regular guests at Mar-a-Lago and GOP fundraisers. They rub elbows with conservative power players at dinners where influence has a price tag. Property records reveal their $2.5 million Virginia estate, further cementing their image of affluence. With a reported net worth of $3 million, Pete's fortune comes from media work, paid speeches, and book deals, keeping him firmly in elite circles. But watchdog groups like Crew see him as proof of the revolving door between politics, media, and privilege. Critics claim his rise is fueled by connections, not convictions. But Pete? He doesn't flinch. He embraces his role, standing unapologetically as a power player in both media and politics. Controversies and criticism. Navigating the storm, decorated Army National Guard veteran, Fox News host, and unapologetic commentator. Pete Hegseth has never shied away from controversy. He embraces debates others avoid. One of his most publicized battles came during the case of Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher. Hegseth argued that Gallagher was a victim of political correctness, calling for a presidential pardon. His advocacy played a key role in Trump's decision to grant clemency, solidifying his reputation as a defender of military justice. But controversy followed. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he challenged official narratives, questioning death tolls, a stance that drew sharp backlash from mainstream media. In 2024, his book The War on Warriors took aim at woke military policies. Conservatives applauded. The New York Times condemned. His stance on diversity policies deepened the divide. To supporters, he is a champion of tradition. To critics, an obstacle to progress. But Pete Hegseth, he remains unflinching, navigating the storm as he always has. Legacy and influence. Pete Hegseth's legacy spans battlefields, newsrooms, and the highest ranks of defense leadership: soldier, media firebrand, Secretary of Defense, League halls to war zones in the Pentagon's corridors. Hegseth embodies the rise of post-9/11 veterans, reshaping Republican politics. His tenure as Secretary of Defense was defined by bold, often polarizing reforms. Theory. Among his most controversial moves, banning critical race theory and diversity programs. The impact, a reported 12% decline in black officer candidates. Supporters called it a return to military discipline. Critics called it a step backward. Yet his push to expand private health care for veterans earned bipartisan praise, with The Atlantic calling it a vital reform for overburdened VA hospitals. He spearheaded Pentagon audits, recovering $7.2 billion, though much came from cutting climate-related programs. Through his books, he cast military challenges as battles in a larger cultural conflict. By 2025, Time named him one of the 100 most influential figures. But his legacy remains shadowed by ethics investigations and concerns over military readiness. Love him or loathe him, Pete Hegseth's impact on America is undeniable. Pete Hegseth rose from small-town roots to national prominence through military service, media influence, and political advocacy. Known for his strong views on veterans' rights and military reform, his legacy is marked by both praise and controversy. As Secretary of Defense, he became a divisive figure whose impact on American politics and culture continues to spark debate. Thanks for joining us on Loyal Luxury as we uncovered the rise, power, and luxury behind Pete Hegseth's incredible journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories of wealth, influence, and ambition